for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love with you forever. Something about love, something about us. Many things we don't love, many things we don't love us. It will be like highway.
Listen up, young people. If you see a woman or man or whoever, and you are just attracted to their body, and you make no actual internal connection with this person, that is
All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Hey Phil. Why did
What's
I
up? What's
not
up?
hear you chime in?
You know, you can't
That's
let them know your
crazy.
next move.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we have a bit of a good pack show. Our guest Amy is not gonna be able to make it. Bill, she'll be here next week, definitely next week. Um, and we have Alex Suarez, who's going to be on in about 15 minutes. He had a personal issue to deal with. He'll be on in 15 minutes. Here for the first time on this show is my comrade Phil, who is a Yale student and also a member of the same party that I am a part of as well too. And he is from New York, right? The Bronx.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And he also was able to join the youth flotilla that was standing in solidarity with Cuba and the um the strangling blockade that Cuba has been dealing with for the past 70 years, now on a more intensified level with Donald Trump, because we know that he is just a very outspoken, very reactionary leader, probably one of the most of this era. I can't say of all time because y'all really got to give these presidents more negativity of the past as well too. Like people be
Right,
trying to
right.
make Donald Trump sound like he's the most evilest motherfucker. Andrew Jackson literally led a campaign of slaughtering Native Americans. Johnson after Abraham Lincoln, even though Abraham Lincoln also led campaigns slaughtering Native Americans while also freeing the slaves, Johnson went back and destroyed Reconstruction era to the point that Ulysses S. Grant wasn't even able to fix it when it became last minute. So there's a lot of evil presidents. We can't just say Donald Trump's the most evil of all, but he's definitely wild. So Phil, we have a few items that we're going to be talking about, and I definitely want to talk about your experience first with the flotilla. I'm sure Alex Suarez is going to have questions as well too. I think it's important to talk about this right now because Cuba is. Are they receiving oil still from other countries, or was it just Russia that was the last country to? If you know off the top of your head, and then tell us your experience as well too, being able to go to Cuba.
Sure. So at the time when I was able to join the Nuestra America convoy in March, it had been 3 months since Cuba had received any oil, period, from outside of its borders. Um, and the last I know, I haven't checked. I haven't been following as closely as I should. That is the last I remember. I know following our trip, Cuba also received tons and tons and tons of rice from China. And an import of support from around the world, from folks from the convoy. So on my side, you have to stop me. I'll just keep talking. But I joined the convoy. This was one of the convoys, uh, international convoys that was put together very, very quickly, probably quicker than any convoy that any of our comrades have put together. And it was because of the significance of the event that we're in right now. Like I said, no oil. The island hadn't received any oil since December at that point.
Wow.
Trump has been escalating the rhetoric, but not only the rhetoric. Remember, just months before that, the largest um, mm, uh, what do you call those? The largest aircraft carrier of the United States
Hmm.
military in the Caribbean waters. I think right before it was moved to Iran. But this, it was very, very clear to, not only organizations who were in the youth convoy, including the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the Palestinian Youth Movement, La Colectiva Feminista from Puerto Rico, and others, Artists Against Apartheid, but also organizations that came around the globe. It was so clear that there was no better time to stand in, resolute solidarity with the Cuban people. So on our particular trip, we basically, we stayed in Havana and we stayed at a place called the Martin Luther King Center. And I joke, but it was the first time I'd been to somewhere named after MLK that really realized
Mm,
his legacy, in the way that it
mm,
should. The
mm,
MLK Center is a Christian a nonprofit,
hmm.
an organization in Cuba, which serves the community and links it to, that great tradition of liberation theology. Um, you know, we also, traveled to different schools, youth schools, as well as we met university students. We got to participate in farming, and we explored uh, the excuse me, my brain is going a little bit slow today. But we got to check out the children's hospital, you know, to see just from different aspects of what the Cuban experience is in general, but also under blockade, and to see how the Cuban people are persisting despite the blockade and even thriving in different areas.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's very, very important. That we show that solidarity, even though some countries are very slow to showing. Um, that can do a lot more on the impact. And this is my minus of criticism of Venezuela, because now Venezuela has to conduct themselves with a gun to their head. Um, which is basically the U.S. gun to their head. They can't really do much. They were a big, big supporter of helping Cuba out before Maduro was kidnapped, because that's exactly what they did. Venezuela was one of the most main suppliers donating oil. Mexico was as well too. And Donald Trump came in, and I don't know if this was his plan. I don't want to give too much credit. The guy really doesn't know what's going on in the world. He's a billionaire. Majority of them don't. But he literally just went after people that were going. He went after countries that were going against that was going against American dominance. That was undermining American dominance. Venezuela working with China and working with Russia was against American dominance, and he wanted to whip them into shape. And unfortunately, Venezuela didn't have the military capabilities to defend themselves from that crazy attack. And Cuba is next on the crosshairs, and this is what he is doing to Cuba. When Breakthrough News has been talking about, ladies and gentlemen, that Cuba is bracing themselves also for an invasion. So not only are they dealing with the struggle of trying to survive by the most powerful nation in the world, blockade, but now they also have to worry about being invaded, which is absolutely just awful. There's not even a propaganda with this anymore, Phil. I've noticed. Like, it's to the point that America is just basically blatantly showing how barbaric they are, instead of trying to come up with a silly lie that can convince the public, majority of the public at least, because we in the anti-imperialist movement, we already know the deal, but could at least convince the majority of the public, like, well, he did say that he wants to do this and stuff, because that's the way they used to do back in the day when they were invading countries. Now it's just straight up like, no, we want y'all to give. We want our foot on your neck. And you're gonna do what we say.
Right. And I think that part really reveals our role then, as people with platforms, as organizers, in two ways. And the first way is, looking at the understanding the situation with Cuba and Venezuela. Right. Following the tactical retreats that Venezuela has been, kind of forced to make by the Trump administration and the imperialist powers more broadly, uh, it's so important that we're helping our communities understand this context, understand the context and its development and how it's connected around the world, and ultimately, in the case of looking at Cuba, uh, how Cuba, faces this situation. While on the trip, uh, several folks emphasized the way in which this period is forcing Cuba to return to the lessons of the special period following the destruction of the Soviet Union.
Mm.
Following, the quote so-called fall of the USSR, Cuba had lost its greatest trading partner and one its greatest ally in the world, and it was difficult. It was a difficult time for Cuba, and it really was a time of looking to other sources for inspiration of how to go forward. Um, you know, and in Cuba today, people are still very persistent that against the idea that Cuba was ever just some kind of satellite of the USSR. The people are very, very proud and very um, clear that they were never, just never a satellite. Period. And that kind of special period required them to continue to turn inward and ask, how can we answer these questions for ourselves, as we were doing before the fall of the Soviet Union, but how can we take that even further? Today, when we see the continued escalation not only against Cuba but their closest partners with Venezuela, as well as attacks on uh, other anti-imperialist movements around the world, uh, we're seeing Cuba have to turn to other alternatives for oil, for example. Cuba's had to turn to their own oil from the island. They particularly have a kind of crude oil, which is very different than the oil that they would have been importing. But they've turned to that. They've turned to, of course, the solar panels. I would have, I probably should have worn a shirt, but we had a shirt that said, you can't blockade the sun. This wretched situation has really forced Cuba to explore all different avenues of how do we get forward, and it's our job as people, uh, particularly in the belly of the beast, to make sure that that information campaign against Cuba as well as against Venezuela.
Right.
The U.S. has a lot of stake in hoping that we just forget about Venezuela, forget about Celia Flores and Nicolas Maduro,
Yep.
uh, in the Brooklyn jail. They have a lot of stake in us giving up on the Venezuelan Revolution and the Cuban Revolution. But what's important for us to understand, especially as organizers, and organizers are just teachers, we just teachers. It's important for us to understand that no, the revolution has not stopped. Any person who studied, I'm a Marxist. I'm a Marxist to the core. Anyone who studied, socialism knows that there are zigzags. History moves in zigzags. Nothing straightforward. You know. So what's not going to happen, or what's not going to be as effective, is a kind of propaganda campaign that followed, let's say, October 7th. You know,
Hmm.
there is, we have to make sure that doesn't happen. We have to make sure that we are in steadfast solidarity with the people of Cuba right now, that nothing is going to be able to make us turn our backs and then take 3 years to remember that, oh wait, Cubans are cool, in the same way that
Right.
people, even people who were considered left before, when October 7th happened, people were like turning their backs. Oh, it's we can't speak about Palestine right now. Even though they were before, we cannot let the imperialist media destroy our connection to Cuba and Venezuela and all the other amazing revolutionary practices processes around the world.
Right. It was a total failure. The Democratic strategy is saying, "Oh, not right now." It's a total failure, and it's finally in their face. It's in their face. And they're trying to pivot, but they haven't learned the lesson. And that's why we need revolutionary parties like the PSL to continue showing the people the way, not even just showing, but learning from the people and organizing with the people. That's better, actually, not showing. It's learning and organizing with the people. Because at the end of the day, people are becoming independents now. I showed the polls in the show that we are right now in the era where majority of Americans are registered independents. And the highest party alliance in the voting registry is still Democrats, but that's about 30 to 35%. And the rest is Republicans, of people that identify as Republican. So already there's a poise for a third party. Americans want a third party. So it's important for people to know this, you know what I mean? That the time is now. I mean, look at this. For instance, this is a good segue. What happened in Memphis in Tennessee. I'm going to take the sound off because that sound is very annoying. I don't know what's happening to the whistle, but for context for people to understand that gerrymandering is legal as hell now. And speaking of the South, we are joined with Comrade Dust James, who is from North Carolina. So I definitely love to hear his take on this. Alex Suarez will be here real soon. Dust James, we're talking about what took place in Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama definitely rushed while there was a tornado warning. I think a tornado did touch down. And Tennessee literally, you have these politicians here. They're just putting their thumbs up. They're so excited. And then I saw one video. Let me see if I can find that video. The reaction is crazy. I saw one video of them, laughing at their constituents, the ones who they just took their voting. Here it is. The ones they just took their voting rights away from, laughing at them. And it's going to pop up, so I'm just waiting for it to pop up. StreamYard is a little overwhelming sometimes, but here we are. Boom. Okay. And now we're waiting for that video to pop up. Dust, how's it going? This is my friend Phil. We're just waiting for the video.
Hey, y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm driving and I got illuminated.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, they're just literally being assholes. This guy right here has a Trump flag, wearing it like he's Superman. You know what I mean? This is how they respond to knowing that they literally took voting rights. Like we can't get black Democratic leaders in office. This is literally showing how much they want to keep it white dominance. So I don't understand why people are still trying to use this system to fight the system. It's time for a total responsible revolution, in my opinion. It's overdue, because this is just going to happen everywhere. It's legal now. It's gerrymandering. The Supreme Court allows it.
Right, and I think what I'd emphasize there is in the U.S., voting is a privilege. It's not a right.
Yep.
Anything that we've gotten in relation, anything valuable that we have in relation to voting was never given to us. Anything half valuable in relation to voting that we have is the product of people struggling, working class and oppressed people struggling to snatch it from billionaires. And billionaires realizing, you know what? It's a good time to let them have this. They bought where they got it. And it's not as important for us to give it, to snatch it back from them at this moment. But right now is a very important moment for them to snatch these rights away. It's favorable for them. They have the capacity to do it. You know, it's logistically, you know, possible for them to do it, right? And so I
Right.
totally agree. You know, because even though I say that, right, I say that to recognize and the value of the liberatory tiny little kernel in that voting system. The liberatory part is not their structures whatsoever. The liberatory part is that when you say political, right, when you talk about politics, when you talk about change, the first place that our people, the majority of our people, go right now, they think about voting. They think about when you say change makers, they think about congressmen or senators and presidents, right? And that's not the liberatory part. The liberatory part is our people associate something with change. That just means that we got to be where the people are and be like, okay, but what about the day after? And my cat, little Bobby Black, he's just joining us. But when we just that just means we gotta be where our people are and say, oh, you going to go vote for Congress? What are you doing the day after you vote? You know, come get
Right.
involved, right? It means that we have to be where our people are and engage them in conversation. You know, where when our people are upset right now in the South, you know, our comments have to be meeting them there. We can't just say, as I've seen some folks say, you know, it was a failed project from the beginning. You know, you were never going to get anything like that. Just get over it. You know, we have better things to worry about. Of course, we do have bigger things to worry about as well. But when our when our people rightfully are upset about such an attack on their rights, we have to be there to say, you know what else is an attack on your rights? Sending your money to Israel. You
Yep.
know what else is an attack on your rights? Funding these billionaires. I don't
Yep.
be attacked. You know what else is an attack on your rights? Medical care is being taken away from these trans kids. We have to
Yep.
make sure we draw the connections, connect the dots between everything. You know,
Yep.
that's why one example. Last thing I'll say, and I'm from the Bronx. You know, right now the party in the Bronx, we're running in a congressional campaign. Not because we are so inspired by the bourgeois democratic model,
Right.
but we
Right.
know that it is an opening to engage with our neighbors in the way that they know politics to work, or that they expect politics to work. It's an opportunity to present leadership in the way that they are most familiar with leadership. It's an opportunity to bring people into ongoing struggle, regardless of what happens in election season. You know, from the Bronx with Andre Easton to California with Ramsey Robertson, to Massachusetts with Joe Chache. You know, we engage in these because that's where the people are, and we're gonna bring people with us regardless of what happens. Same with voting.
Yeah. Yeah. So important. James, I love to hear your because I know that you're in the South, you're in North Carolina right now. Is there any redistricting being proposed as well too in North Carolina?
You know, I haven't been following that, but it's not a new problem. It's a problem that's been going on a long time. Essentially, the governments, particularly the county governments and state governments, particularly along the Black Belt South, are highly gerrymandered to the point of being illegitimate. Illegitimate, even fascist governments, if you take in the police states and the level of poverty and repression and the lack of rights that exist.
By the way, I made it. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I made it, Comrade.
Welcome,
How's it going? Nice to see Dust. I haven't seen Dust in a while. Nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you, brother. Yeah, I mean, we have a fascist police state in the South, and it's illegitimate. It's obviously the black population is basically kept from voting. Not just gerrymandering. And then the immigrant population, it remains undocumented and with little process, even though they've been here for years and years. So, I mean, and they do the voting on a Tuesday, and they don't publicize it, and local decisions are made by county governments that people don't pay attention to. We
Well, in
have
Tennessee,
illegitimate.
they locked out a black lawmaker from going in where they were making the decision to erase Memphis. Like, there's literally no district of Memphis anymore. It's a black majority city in Tennessee, and they lost that. They redistricted that, and one of the lawmakers who represented that district, an African American, they literally locked him out. They had everything behind closed doors. Since this corrupt Supreme Court decision, it's completely decimated what little democracy we have left. We're turning into a full fascist state.
Yeah. Phil, this is Alex Suarez, my co-host. For
Nice to meet you, Comrade.
Phil is the one I was telling you about, Alex, that
Oh, yeah.
a part of the flotilla for Cuba.
Excellent. That's a country I've been to. I've been to Venezuela as well. I flew to Cuba, but going on a flotilla would be something very exciting to take part in here.
I was, I did also fly. The flotilla arrived at the end, but they were also part of the international conference.
That's great. It was all part of the same effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's crucial medicine that Americans need right now that the Cubans have invented that because of this embargo, we don't have access to. A lot of people talk about the embargo in terms of it hurting the Cuban people, which it does. It hurts them more than anybody. But despite those obstacles, they've made incredible advances in medicine. And there's medicines that we need as Americans right now for years that we can't go down there and get access to because of the stupid embargo.
Yeah. And also when about the South as well too. Actually, I just realized on this panel right now we got 2 people from the South and 2 people from the North. Like it's like
where's Phil at?
of America.
So I'm in Connecticut right now. Okay, from New York. But I got roots. My family got roots in Arkansas. So
there you go. That's I've been to West Memphis.
North Carolina.
I actually been to West Memphis, which is in Arkansas. So I know Memphis, Tennessee, West Memphis. It's just really sad to see, like, immediately after the corrupt Supreme Court decision, that they're going after what little democracy we have left.
Yeah.
If I could add,
go ahead.
If I could add, just to connect that. While I was in Cuba, seeing the effects of not, them not getting any oil for, since December to March, and seeing the effects of a 60-year-long blockade, all I could think about is I was in Arkansas in January, and the rundown in Arkansas, not because of a blockade, not because of a blockade, not because of no embargoes, XYZ. It's run down as a policy decision, And I was like, in Cuba, they are guaranteed, we went to the bakeries to see where they get, they make thousands of pieces of bread for folks, right? People are guaranteed 1 piece a day. And, some people may say, well, that's not a lot. And I say, well, in Arkansas, nobody's guaranteed a piece of bread a day. Nobody's guaranteed no education, no health care, or XYZ. And being that, all I can think about is my family in the South, and, my family all across the place. Really deep revolution. The South Revolution.
Absolutely.
And it's Jamar, you were mentioning before, this system has taken the mask more and more off, and it's terrible. That terribleness, we have a huge responsibility to point out to our people and say, you see that monster? You see how this backward system has laid its body across the earth?
It's by design.
Let's strike it in the South. Let's strike it in the North. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a history of resistance and insurgency in the South. Dust is an expert on that. He can tell you more about that. In North Carolina and other parts of the country, we might need a reemergence of that because a lot of the poverty in the country, again, is by design and systemic. It's not that people are naturally lazy, but because of the capitalist system, it's imposed on the population, on the oppressed nations. And they don't want us to know the example of other countries. Like, they want to prevent Americans from going into those countries. It's part of the reason why there's an embargo in place, because when we see that what they do with so little, how resourceful they are, how their social system is, we're going to want to apply that here at home, especially in the South. And they don't want us to know that,
Yeah. And when you think about Chris Small's case, we need so many different Chris Smallses. He got arrested at the Met Gala after they put on the projector.
He was beaten up as well. They beat him up.
Yeah,
he was surrounded by like 20 white cops. Yeah, Chris Smalls. That's another hero.
That video? I'm gonna find it.
Yeah.
Because Amazon's all over the country, right? There's Amazon.
Yeah, and he's still a
headquarters
labor leader for Amazon too. But
everywhere.
Amazon retaliated against him. They were using the cops at that event to beat him up. Yeah, arrest him.
And they and I did love how they put on the projector so many testimonies from so many Amazon workers, which was just so amazing. And I think him going up to the Met Gala, you know, people were like, "Oh, maybe he should have waited," or no.
Well,
Go
he was
up
exposing
there.
those
Go up
elites
there.
the struggle, man. I love that. He was exposing to those elite people like this is the struggle that Amazon workers are going through, you know?
Right. But you know, for perspective, you know, Dust, I wanted to ask you as well too, like, you know, like what is one good labor story for the South that you could tell us that that you haven't told us before, actually?
Well,
Because it's been a while since you've been on here, and I would love to hear hear from you about this because it's such a really good conversation, and we got a nice audience too. So y'all better listen and learn.
maybe I'll preface it with a response to, I believe, a great comment that Comrade Phil made earlier, and he said about voting rights. You know, only it's a privilege. The only reason we have it is because we fought for it. I think that extends to all aspects of society. For working class, oppressed people, everything good we have isn't because of the state. It isn't because we're Americans. It is because working class and oppressed people organized, fought, and died for it. It's the only reason we can have it. And the only reason why it's not getting worse faster now is because there are people who are still organizing and fighting for everything we have and to keep everything we have. Specifically in North Carolina, you know, there's been a movement since 2006 with the immigrant revolt against draconian laws, and May Day is coming back to the United States. We have the teachers in North Carolina and the North Carolina Educators Association. We have such backwards labor laws. Teachers are not even allowed to have unions officially, and they're not allowed to go on strike. But we have the association, which is a union in formation, and they unofficially went on a 6th strike on May 1st during a school day, and they shut down the majority of the progressive school districts. In my rural district where my son was going to school, we had no such luck. But where the Educators Association, they went on a 6th strike, and they were able to shut down several of the more progressive districts. I think another recent, it's not specifically the South, but more the West, and Greeley, Colorado, majority immigrant workers, Haitian workers, Latin American workers went on strike for several weeks, from the biggest strikes in the country, and they won. And they got enough demands to go back, and you know things are happening, and even if you don't see it, even if you get discouraged, people are fighting. You got to go find them people.
Yep. Please, guys, this is what I want. That's why I said, yo, we got a good crowd here watching. Got like little 20 people watching. Thank you for the 20. You know what I mean? Pay attention. You know what I mean? This is so important. Like the playtime is over. The playtime been over for us, but the playtime is over for those that still think that, oh well, if I could just stay to myself. They're coming for you. They are looking to take away everything. They want chaos. They absolutely want chaos, so they can control us more.
It's part of a global calculation, the design chaos that they're imposing on society.
Right. You know, people, you know, have made comments in the working class. It has said, "Oh, well, you know, these guys, they just so chaotic. They just so crazy." No, this is exactly the way they want it to be.
Well, they want to use the reaction from the people as a justification for more oppression. It's clearly a provocation to take the last of these rights away. Now, if you look at the reality, nobody can negate or deny that there's absolutely no democracy left in the society. We're coming into a full fascist mode now.
Right.
I think that's.
Oh yeah, I think he lost connection. Hopefully he comes back. It looks like that he was
fine.
working
He's a trucker.
while.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah,
Just
he's
in
an
case
American
you don't know,
trucker.
he's a trucker. He's a work class guy, so he's a very busy guy. I was surprised he was able to come on. That's great, man.
Yeah, well, the reason why was because I was looking for comrades to come on in a pinch. And I was very fortunate to get Phil, very fortunate to get Dust. I also spoke to Zach too. I spoke to Zach on the phone.
Oh, Zach is a
Alec.
character. Are you talking about our Comrade on Boston?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that guy. He's really good at, like, I don't know, Phil, if you're familiar with him, but he's really good at, like, ranting. Like, that's
Yeah,
his style. Like his political style is like ranting on his show, and you know he has an audience who likes it.
yeah. We're gonna
Oh,
do some
that's bad.
stuff. So here we are. Let's talk about Iran, guys. Let's go right into foreign politics. You know what I mean? And I would love to hear from you all about this. This is Donald Trump right here, just for a backstory for people to understand. Apparently, there was supposed to be a ceasefire, and then Jabari Media was one of the medias that posted a video about how there was bombing going on yesterday, Thursday night. And also there was supposed to be like a Project Freedom, where they was escorting tankers to through the Strait of Hormuz, and then Iran was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that," and now Project Freedom is canceled. So I guess this is why he said what he said, and let's just hear how crazy.
If Israel leaves Lebanon, you know where they're going to go next is Yemen. They're going to go after the Houthis there. But yeah, certainly if the war ends with Iran, they're going to focus on invading other countries. That's all they can do is constantly invade. That's what the Zionists do.
Oh yeah. And listen to this.
Is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
Could you give us an update on what is the
So here we are back with the threat.
The talks are going very well.
Where'd everybody go? Let's fix this. So here we are back with the nuclear threatening. Whoever wants to go first, go right ahead.
I mean, didn't the new Ayatollah say that his father was wrong? He said, my dad's strategy of, who's a former Ayatollah, he said, my dad's strategy of using the nuclear program as a means to negotiate was wrong. We just have to go straight nuclear now. I mean, how could he not say that, right? I mean, he really pushed into now going full nuclear with threats like that. That just kind of, make the Iranians even more want to have a full nuclear program.
Right. I'll go. So I honestly feel that this right here shows how bad they are losing and how bad the situation is, that they do not have control, that Iran has a lot more cards than they are willing to show. The fact that they had the nerve to deny that they were hit, and how there's videos of their drones being hit, and then they say that did not happen. That absolutely made no sense to me, because we have video. I'm so confused by that. But it's just showing that the empire is crumbling. You go against a nation of 90 million people and you expect a Venezuelan or a Syrian outcome, and you do not get that. What you get is more humiliation.
To be fair about Venezuela, it was one night. The Delta Force went into Venezuela one night. It wasn't a full-scale invasion. If there was full-scale invasion, a lot of Americans would have got killed. And so, as a matter of fact, because I believe of the resistance, the strong resistance against the Delta Force that kidnapped Maduro, the 100 plus people, including civilians, that were killed, the 30 Cuban bodyguards, the other members of the Venezuelan military that were killed. They were able to wound the Americans. They weren't to hurt the Americans. But again, it was a night raid. All the communications were shut down. But because of the fierce resistance and sacrifice of those people, that sent a strong message to Washington, right? That if you want to do one night, okay, but if you keep coming back, you're going to turn Venezuela into another Vietnam. So that, we have to realize that wasn't a full-scale invasion. That was a one-night operation to take one man and his wife in a cowardly act, right? The so-called Delta Force.
Yeah. I would. Oh, go right ahead, Phil. Go right ahead.
Yeah, just to keep characterizing these cowardly acts. Even when the ceasefire first came on the scene, the people of the world, people of Iran and that region recognized the nature of it. Recognize what does it mean to go into a ceasefire with the United States or with Israel. The United States and Israel are very, very consistent in their ability to bypass ceasefires. That means nothing for them. The people and the people of Iran also recognize that this will be an opportunity for the United States to
Okay.
go
I'm
back.
gonna have to call back in about 15 minutes, comrades. Okay.
Cool.
Yep. No problem.
Okay.
The people there also recognize that this will be an opportunity for the U.S. and Israel to go back and gather themselves to prepare their next attack. They are not unintelligent people, the people of Iran. But it's also important for us to recognize, uh, outside of the dishonorable character of the United States and Israel, um, that another aspect, which the United States is being so critically challenged, is in that battle of ideas. I just mentioned how we have to make sure that the this Western propaganda can't make us turn our backs on Cuba.
Right.
And we are at a point, at least in this country and in the West, where Iran hasn't been as favorable in media as Cuba, but there has been such an effective media campaign by Iran itself, by revolutionaries around the world, by activists, community groups, people getting together with their neighbors and coworkers, etc., to either say, if you're in the United States, say no war with Iran. We're not interested. We got problems here we got to deal with. If you're, I know everybody's probably seen those Iran like Lego videos, those AI
Yeah.
generated
They're so
videos.
hilarious,
They, uh,
and they're
so
very informative, not just hilarious. They're very
right,
informative.
right, absolutely. And folks have seen the very intentional move to point out the legacy of Black and Iranian solidarity. You know, so there has been a lot to look into, a lot to study in the case of this war, and what does it mean to meet the United States
Mhm.
in hybrid warfare in the same way America always comes with hybrid warfare, the battle of
Yep.
ideas, the material battle, economic warfare. And what we see today and what's interesting about it is that Iran has come to the table in every arena. You want to negotiate? Let's negotiate. You want to do physical battle? We'll do physical battle. I'm sure you both have seen the images that were released of American military bases that were destroyed by Iran, partially destroyed. If you want to do
Crazy.
ideological warfare, let's do ideological warfare. You know,
Yeah.
and just like the comment mentioned Vietnam before, but just like Vietnam and the battle of if y'all are familiar with Dien Bien Phu, the major turning point in the battle of the fights in Vietnam. Just like Dien Bien Phu was so inspirational to people around the world. Fanon talks about when are we gonna have our Dien Bien Phu. In a
Mm.
similar way, Iran is showing those people of the world, just like Palestine has been, a compass that yeah we darker people of the world can stand up.
Yep.
We can say we're letting China through. We're letting
Yep.
China do the trading. America, you ain't coming through right now. We have the ability to determine our destiny and fight for it. And
Right.
that is a good lesson to study wherever you are in the world.
Yep. Dust, do you have any words about Iran?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming, the escalation, and it makes sense as Trump is using his utility that we're using for this escalation against Trump, particularly in this time of volatility and a crisis within capitalism. It's just horrific to see, the school children murdered, and life for people who stood up for themselves for so long, attacked in this way. It's inspiring to see them fighting back, and it's interesting. It goes all the way back to the space race, and the Iranians, taking Soviet rockets and reconstructing them and building them, and the fact that it's 60% women in the STEM fields that develop medical and scientific technology and medical technology, that shows within the worst conditions how truly advanced the Iranian people really are
Right.
in this resistance. And a big connection that I made to a struggle here that I'd like to bring up, but it seems I'm not connected, but it is the struggle against data centers, and not only data centers, but the money that's going into the data centers
Right.
is pushing towards unsafe, environmentally disastrous energy policies like uranium mining in some localities and fracking, which we rightfully shut down here 10 years ago, but now with the AI money coming back in, they're looking to do that too. And what I found shocking was the moment in Iran when they bombed the petroleum fields, and there was acid rain coming down on the people of Iran. So even more, it's not as striking as, children instantly dying with bombs, but both the economic impact of destruction of resources and the poisoning of fields that cannot grow crops from now on, the permanent and long-term health effects on the Iranian people. And, it's the same thing we're fighting to stop here in the South, and working class and exploited communities, environmental devastation as an imperialist weapon against the oppressed and working class.
Yep. No, totally agree. You guys, all three of you, have very strong understanding of what's going on, and I really do appreciate that, because it's important to understand that this is another example of what we talked about with Venezuela and Cuba, that the narrative is dying, and it is rapidly showing the decline of the U.S. empire. And that's what we're living in today. Very, very important. And I know people freak out by that. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, what do you mean the U.S. empire is going to decline and all this stuff? What are you trying to say? America's the greatest of all time. No, they said that about Rome. They said that about Babylon. They said that about all these other countries, all the Ottoman Empire. You know what I mean? They said that about the UK. The sun never sets in the UK. But all these empires had no choice but to humble themselves. I mean, Rome doesn't exist no more. But all these empires had to come to Jesus. And when Iran yells death to America, they're talking about death to the U.S. empire. They're not saying death to the American country. And I love how they try to spin that. Try to be like, oh, he wants to destroy America anyway. No, they do not. They want y'all to stop oppressing them. They want this government to finally come to terms with understanding that you are not the dominant empire no more. That you cannot dictate to people what's going on. That you cannot have the Sahel region or let France have the Sahel region. You can't just be funding Rwanda and let Rwanda have M2021. I believe that's the name of the mercenaries. Just kill all these Congolese people. That you cannot let Sudan be colonized by the UAE, which, by the way, the UAE and their words, they've been acting like they could do stuff with a very small army, but Iran's been very patient with them. Oh, they bombed their oil fields. No, I feel like Iran's been very patient with them. Iran could do worse than the UAE. They're just letting them talk. But all this stuff it's like a snowball effect. The more you piss off Iran, the more of the colonial influence that you have is unraveling. And Israel is, you know, they mentioned on the Haaretz, it was reported on Haaretz that Israel acknowledges that Lebanon is a total failure, that they are not getting their goals, that Iran right now is a total
Wait, can I
failure.
just stop you there? That
Yeah,
their efforts, that Israeli efforts in Lebanon were failures?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't
They
want people
acknowledged it.
to clip you and be like, yo, Jamar said that Lebanon is a failure.
Oh no, 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 no.
Okay.
The Israeli officials said on the Haaretz article that they failed. You know, all they're doing is just killing people, but they can't do a full on invasion. They can't fully take over because Hezbollah is fighting back very formidably. You know, they can't do the Gaza experiment. Our beloved Gaza people, they can't do to them what they did to Gaza. So it's showing how much that the empire is crumbling. And you know, what I'm fearful of is the backlash when they finally realize that they can't. What do you guys think about that? The backlash. That's when we definitely have to defend ourselves as working people here, especially.
Right. I right now I'm thinking about one, it's so important when looking at situations like these to understand what does it mean to take an L, right?
Mm,
To take an L is to fail at meeting your own stated goals,
right.
right? And if we understand that, we can understand how Israel and the United States are taking L's, you know? And we should really not only appreciate, but we should be able to talk to our people about, yo, look where the U.S. wasn't able to meet its strategic goals. Look how Israel had to pull back in certain cases. Because with that, we hear people in the Imperial Core, in the South, wherever you are, could learn, okay, what does it look like to help make the United States fail? What does it look like to help make Israel fail at their goals of killing people? Because we know if the United States doesn't reach its goals, we know what the United States and Israel is good at. It's just like killing people indiscriminately. And the hard thing, it's a really hard thing. But the hard thing is for us to recognize they're killing a lot of people,
Yeah.
and those are not their strategic goals. It's a
Right.
hard two things to hold together. Yes, they are doing terrible things, backward things that
Right.
are inexcusable that they will be held accountable for. And at the same time, they did all of this and they weren't able to stop the resistance forces around the world. They weren't able to make the resistance forces and the forces for revolution less favorable, in the eyes of people. In fact, the people of the world more and more align with those anti-imperialist forces. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the other part of your question, and Alex is back, but thinking about the other part of your question
Just in
about,
case, comrades, I'm in my car driving, but I can still contribute to the conversation.
okay, bet. Now we on the road. We on the road to socialism too. Okay, but look, thinking
Yeah,
about like what.
a couple of us are literally on the road to socialism, right? Hey, if those can do it, I can do it, man.
Right, right. Um, but on the other part of your question, right, of what happens when the U.S. has been so thoroughly defeated, um, are are stopped from meeting its goals. Well, we see that it tries to do other things, which again are not its stated goals. Just in the same way that again it bombs schoolhouses.
Mm,
There it's destroying schoolhouses here too in different ways. It turns
yeah.
around, it goes berserk, right?
Empire and decay.
Right. But it's our job with the people here, wherever you at, to say, you see how the Vietnamese beat the United States. You see how let's study the class struggle in Cuba between 1945 and 1959, and ask what does it look like in the period leading up to revolution, right?
Mm.
We have so much.
By the way, the next
so
Supreme Court's decision is going to be on segregation. They're going to resegregate the schools again.
Oh.
That just means we better be studying the lessons from the struggle in the 30s and asking, yo, what did Harry Haywood do in this situation? What was Louise Patterson doing in these situations? We got revolutionaries that face every situation that they could possibly, they could possibly think of, because these capitalists,
Students
these
in the
imperialists,
history schools here in Florida can't even learn about the history of segregation. And when
right,
it comes back, they're going to think it was always segregation.
right,
Mm.
So things are going to have to get worse before they get better. It's going to have the point where we're going to be like 1950s again when it comes to, oppressed nations and the working class and what they have to face. It'll be like pre-segregation again. I mean, it's going to get really bad where people start to wake up, because there's still large parts of the population that are dormant,
right. Well, what I would, and that's the last thing I'll say, what I do want to emphasize, though, is that it takes more than it getting worse to wake people up. We have seen some of the worst horrors that we've ever seen in our phones in the last few years. But with that is a part of it. But the horrors that imperialism shows is not enough to get people into organizing a revolution. You need, you seeing a horrible video on your phone, you having your rights taken away, even you not having food. You being oppressed yourself is not even enough to get someone in line to make a revolution. So what is it? I'd say, yes, things may get worse, and things likely will get worse. But in order to make sure that our people are able to respond properly to a revolutionary crisis and the crisis of imperialism, we got to make sure that we meet our people and saying, yo, we have a meeting right now. We about to do some outreach. We about to study. We about to study Fidel. We about to study Cabral. We about to study Louise Thompson. We about to get in the streets. We about to go to the educational centers. We're going to tie the dots together, or connect the dots for our people to recognize, here's how we build a revolutionary movement. How do you do revolutionary media? How do you put on an event?
Mm.
How do you build mass consciousness to something? Because the Democrats ain't doing it. The Democrats have given up on people. The Republicans giving up on the people. If we are
Didn't
able,
Jeffrey said he wouldn't impeach Trump if they won the
Right.
midterms? He even admitted that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah.
Just build the revolution. We got it.
Yeah.
Build that shit before
Listen.
the storm or during the storm.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is crucial, people. Like, and that's why.
And China would not have had the economic advances that it's had in the past few years without socialism. They've been able to redirect the resources in still a socialist system to make incredible advances. And of course, the United States always gave the excuses like, yeah, poor countries can have public health care, but look at our population. But every single citizen of China, over 1 billion people, has access to health care. So that, that propagandistic talking point doesn't really work, does it?
No. It does not. It does not, Alex. And that's why it's so important that we talk about China and stuff. And I gotta say, since you brought up China, I have to mention that, 2 years ago, it was like you can't say nothing right about China. But like now, I don't know if it's red note or if it's just that China has been doing well with their campaigning on social media. But a lot of people
the U.S. is
are more
withdrawing
open to
from
China now.
Taiwan and stuff. It's because the U.S.
Oh no, we can't hear you, bro.
They're becoming. That's also helping them become more successful. The U.S. is intervening less with China.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You was going in and out, but you were basically saying that since the U.S. hasn't been intervening with China as much, is why they have been more.
Yeah, because they're more preoccupied now with the Middle East and Latin America. They've kind of let China alone. And then China's just naturally progressed from there and started reconciling with other countries that the United States are trying to divide them from, like Taiwan. So there's been progress on that front. Yeah.
Yes. And we covered that as well in the show as well too. How Taiwan
good.
opposition party spoke about the progress towards peace, and also they had like a 15-year trade deal or something like that that's going on. So they're working together, Taiwan and China. They're working together. Phil, that's what really really shocks me about that subject, though, is that when you go on these mainstream media platforms, like, for instance, Piers Morgan or whatever, I mentioned Piers Morgan because he still gets a lot of fucking views. When they talk about Taiwan, they don't even mention how Taiwan is now having better relations with.
Well, by the way, Kiriakou literally right after he got off our show went on to Piers Morgan's.
Yeah.
Speaking of Piers Morgan,
God, he's hitting all the shows now. I'm very happy we was able to get him on our show before he went all the way out, because now he's everywhere. He's on Joe Rogan and everything.
But the thing is, people assume he's a conservative, and when he was on our show, he was talking like a socialist, because I think he's just progressive, but they don't ask him the questions that reveal his progressive side when he goes on Joe Rogan and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think it's because he's trying to get a pardon, so he's trying to play nice. That's why I think.
Well, he's being diplomatic, but if you ask him certain questions, like if you ask him straight up, "Do you like Trump?" he'll say no. But they bring him on the show and intentionally don't ask that because it's for a certain purpose, you know.
Right. No, shout out to John Kiriakou. Great guy. I'm still trying to get that episode off of Connect Hub so I could take it from Hulu TV and put it actually on YouTube, because there's only clips right now. And I think,
and I collaborated with him in the past over the Venezuelan embassy actions in DC. He was one of the guys that was going to be in my documentary, but we couldn't finish it. I wrote a book instead. But he's been active ever since he got out of prison in a lot of different causes. Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, man. So, guys, we are past the hour, so I don't want to take up more of you guys' time. These are working people. You know what I mean? We got a lot of things we got to do. You know, Dust still driving, Alex driving. So, Phil, let them know where they can connect with you. And if you want people to contact you, you know, if you want people to look at your content, how can people connect with you?
Sure. So what I recommend is follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is prometheus.brer. That's PROMETHEUS.BRER. I post my poetry there, I post my organizing there. And you can reach out to me there. I'm off it for maybe a couple of weeks. I need a little bit of a break from it, but hit me up there. You can find me. Otherwise, just follow. Actually, follow PSL Connecticut. The page.
By the way, Phil, I was curious just before you go, brother. Did you get to go to Santa Clara when you were in Cuba, or just Havana?
I was just in Havana. 10 years ago.
Yeah, because
in 2016. In 2016, I was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. 2016, I was in Havana, and then we went across the island to Santiago. But this time we were really just in Havana.
Yeah, if you ever go to Santa Clara, go to the burial site of Che. I've written a book about Che Guevara, but yeah, his remains were buried in Santa Clara there.
Oh wow! I didn't know you went twice.
Check it out. Yeah, a second time.
See, I'm still trying to get my first time popping.
Hey, I got my passport renewed, man. I plan to go back to Cuba and Venezuela. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think we lost Dust. I was just about to ask Dust to let our audience know. But
he didn't make it to the road to socialism, man. Oh man.
You guys have been awesome. We have a little crowd here.
I'm sorry I couldn't be on for the whole show, but at least I put my 2 cents in, right?
Yeah, right. He said John recently signed. So we got a comment. John recently signed with a talent agency. Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what he did.
I didn't know that.
Get on these shows, you know, because these guys they probably go to talent agencies 24/7 to get their guests. I used to get guests from talent.
We interviewed a couple well-known people. What was the name of that whistleblower that the DeSantis forced into exile to leave Florida? What's her name?
Rebecca Jones.
I can't think of her name right now. Yes, we had Rebecca Jones, and she's pretty known. Like, she's been on mainstream stuff, you know.
Let's get her
on. But these people also know the importance of talking to an alternative audience. But yeah, I'd love to have her back on to talk about whistleblowing, because or maybe talk about like how Trump's been firing all the scientists and stuff. We'll get her on for something.
Yeah, definitely. So with that,
she's a good science whistleblower.
I love you all. Thank you all so much for coming on.
Peace
Thank
out.
you all so much for watching. You guys are absolutely beautiful. So have a good day, and if you can, have a good happy Friday. And it's time to resist, people. It's
Get
time to
organized.
resist. Have a good weekend.
See y'all
I'll
later.
talk to you like in the next hour, Phil. All right.
You know where I'm going, bro. You know I'm going to go down to karaoke tonight. You know that. I'm gonna go sing it up, man. Some drink on.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Definitely go sing it up, brother.
Peace.
Everybody have a good day. Peace.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something.